There is there's a degree of when you beat Milwaukee in 5 and New York you beat in 6, but it didn't feel like they were really pushing you, that I think Heat fans are also, as they've moved the goalpost on expectations, and rightfully so. They want to see things come together. And there's a player that we're going to talk about as we close, a couple of guys actually that I think we need to acknowledge didn't step up tonight, and we're going to need to see better performances from them in Game 5. So I want to kind of go and look ahead towards opportunity players individually that can step up as we look ahead. So y'all think that I'm not going to talk about him because I always shield him from criticism, but that's not true. Bam Adebayo didn't have a great game tonight. He was in foul trouble, 4 fouls. Gabe also was in foul trouble, shot his way out of some of that, but Bam, 7 field goal attempts, 5 rebounds. It's not what you really want to see overall offensively. Who else do y'all have qualms with tonight? Duncan Robinson didn't give much. Kyle Lowry looked a little suspect. One from each of you, a player that you think looked especially bad tonight that you are expecting to bounce back in Game 5. Sean, you go first.
I think I would go with Bam. I think, if you look over the last set of games against Boston, not just this series, but over the season and even back to last year, he's had success against them. And, I think the foul trouble got him out of his rhythm. 7 field goal attempts, and it's usually misleading if you have a lot of free throws, but only 4 free throws for him. 5 rebounds, no assists, which is also another marker. With our offense, he usually has a few assists. The lowest plus minus on the team. Like, there's just a lot of things with Bam tonight that just didn't seem to add up for whatever reason that is. But he's a big part against this team because he's probably the biggest advantage we have. Jimmy and Tatum can go head to head. They're both great players. We have an advantage with him over Al, with him over Rob Williams, with him over Grant Williams, especially. And we just didn't have the opportunity to take advantage of it tonight. So, there's a lot of things with that. I don't necessarily think it was Bam didn't bring the required energy. Defensively, we weren't as good, I think, with our closeouts. We weren't as good keeping the ball out of the paint. And sometimes when you're a big guy, you get fouls, not because of your fault. It's because of the breakdown that happened in front of you. So I think Bam will bounce back and have a better game in Game 5.
I tend to agree, but I'm biased with Bam. There's a couple other guys. Duncan Robinson stands out to me as a player that on the road in Boston can get back on track. Brian, who you got?
And on the Bam front, this was also his first bad game since Game 2 against the Knicks. So he's been on the run lately. So we can be a little forgiving there, right? Kyle Lowry for me, because I thought that he would be more impactful this series, and he's really only been very good in Game 1. Otherwise, he hasn't been as impactful as I thought he'd be. And he had a couple of not great moments tonight. One in particular, that fast break that we were watching on playback, where it looked like he had a layup attempt or could at least draw a foul and just sort of threw it behind him. Nobody was there. And it was a turnover that they created, and they needed to get points off turnovers, which they did not do a good job of in this game. This is where Boston sort of whooped their ass. And he just kind of threw it back, and I think it was Jaylen Brown who got it, went the other way, and then they were in transition. You cannot keep turning the ball over. You can't allow these points off turnovers, and they get to their open threes, so that killed them. But Kyle Lowry, he's the one for me. Like, I think he's going to have a big game. If you remember last year in the playoffs, Kyle Lowry was not good. He was also not healthy in that Celtics series, but did have a big Game 6 in Boston, along with Jimmy Butler. It gets overshadowed because of Jimmy Butler's 47. By the way, Jimmy Butler had 29 points tonight. Didn't even feel like it because of the missed layups, so that was kind of weird. And Bam had a big Game 7, I believe. I think Kyle Lowry also contributed to that, though he wasn't totally efficient. But like, he ended the series on a strong note is the point. So I think he's the one that is due for a response because he's been struggling a little bit more this series. He was better in the Knicks series. He was good at the end of the Bucks series. And he was good at the start of this series, but we haven't really felt it yet. So Kyle Lowry for me.
I'm with you. If they limit some transition threes, hopefully Boston is not hitting them at the clip that they are tonight, because they haven't really been doing that throughout the series. So I think that they can regress there.